Monster Hunter Ups is yet another monster hunter. Pick from a huge variety of large sticks to swing at a massive variety of giant monsters and then eat those monsters to get stronger and fight bigger monsters. Possibly one of the most video game franchises ever made. Rise's major gimmick is the introduction of wire bugs, grappling hook type houseflies that allow for greater mobility than ever before in Monster Hunter. Probably. I've only touched 4 and onward. In previous games, if a monster were on the opposite side of a wall, you need to walk all the way around the wall to get to it, but in Rise you can just walk right up the wall. Right up it. This is just one of many features Rise has to speed up hunts, including fast travel points for each location, monsters always show up on your map, and a doggy you can ride like a horsey. But in order to keep the game from being too fun, the team added a mechanic called Spirit Birds, a time tax on every single hunt. You have to collect Spirit Birds of all colors to raise your stats for the hunt, and they only last for the one hunt. 10 attack and defense isn't a massive boost even in the early game, but like a third of your health and stamina are locked behind this fucking fetch quest. PC users can install Reach Framework and the Rainbow Spirit Bird mod to skip the fetch quest, but I think Steam Deck users and especially Switch players are required to go fuck themselves. When you get your Spirit Birds, you're allowed to fight the big cool lizard with your oversized sword. Block, swing, dodge, break scales, and sever tails. Every fight is an exciting back and forth between yourself and the monster, with a lot of small touches coming together to manage the pace of the fight. Smack the monster's face with a hammer or your shield to stun it for some free hits, make some space then heal or sharpen your sword. Cutting tails both give you the opportunity for unique resources and hobbles monsters like Puke that rely on their tails. Monsters will flee after a few minutes to force the player to take a breather. Hunting monsters never gets boring because the pace of the fight is constantly changing based on the decisions of both player and monster. And each decision the monster makes can be counteracted with appropriate forethought and quick action. And if you do get bored, you could always try another weapon. 14 of the best designed weapons in the entire medium, all with different roles in combat, no two more than superficially similar, and all with more depth than some entire action franchises. If you want simplicity, there's the longer greatswords. If you want a tank, there's big cool shields on the lance and gun lance, versatility with the sword and board, jump around at the insect glaive. If you love building and spending meters, there's the switch axe and the cart blade, or bow and guns if you don't feel like engaging too much. There's something here for literally everyone unless you want to punch the monsters, then you get a single SNS combo. The team love to get goofy with the designs. Every weapon in the tree is strikingly unique besides the palette swaps. My lance is a pencil. The whole game is very pretty actually. I love all the environments and the weapons and the music. The monsters are all a good mix of goofy and legitimately cool. The only real problem is that 20 years of games in a franchise with near yearly releases leads to some art style dissonance. Magnum Hollow and Valstrax are both cartoons. They really clash with the more naturalistic designs of other monsters. All the monsters follow similar basic rules. Parts break when hit, the tail is weak to severing, the head is weak to impacts, they can probably spit some shit, but each one is unique with its own silhouette and details and mannerisms and minor gimmicks. Some will dig, some can fly, some float. Zinogre literally aura farms, Valstrax's whittle front feet are its weak point, Gold Rathian breakdances, Mizutsune gets a unique blight that even other Mizu breeds don't get. Monsters are all unique characters and hunting is the plot. Maybe most emergent experiences aren't super unique, but every hunt will be different. Either because you brought a new weapon, you're trying a new tactic, you're playing in a new lobby, or the monster just does some weird shit. I started a new character to play with friends and our first Actisom ran away every 2 minutes and prolonged the fight for over half an hour. Maybe it wasn't super fun, but it was unique. I'm not going to talk about the real plot because it literally doesn't matter, a lesson I hope Capcom learns for whatever follows Wilds. Humans are invading the natural habitats of a new monster and it doesn't like that. Go hunt it. Monster Hunter is probably the most evil game series ever, to be honest. You beat these guys so bad there's only 3 pieces left to carve off when they die. I have a lot of difficulty taking the story seriously because the writing is ass, but also because the monsters are simply unbelievable as members of an ecosystem. They're too fucking big. I can accept a big Vulpeciraptor or a sea monitor, but some of these things are fucking stupidly enormous. There's not enough food in the world to feed a Ford F-16 fighter jet, let alone the 30 of them I fought to make a dragon conversion set. I wouldn't have shit to say if there weren't so much wasted effort put into making the world feel real. Nobody ever shuts the fuck up, and I haven't read a line of dialogue in over 350 hours! I don't even want to fuck the elf maidens! What sets Rise apart from World as the only 2 hunters I've truly monned are just how many options the game gives you. Sure, World has the same 14 weapons, but Rise has multiple unique attacks for each one. World has talismans too, but in Rise you can generate talismans with targeted or random effects to best fit your build. The curio crafting mechanic in the DLC lets you customize your weapon stats, and the slot machine armor crafting allows infinite possibilities for build crafting. Just getting the perfect armor is the hard part. An individual roll is cheap, but you'll be pulling the arm dozens of times without realizing it. There's a lot of crap in there, to be honest. The gambling doesn't even piss me off because the punishment for running out of money or resources is getting to hunt more monsters. The major issue with the open-ended build crafting is that by endgame, everybody is using 10 of the same 15 damage skills. Everyone uses Dragon Conversion and Furious, so their element damage has triple DPS. They use Bloodright and Awakening so they can heal while attacking and get a buff about it. They use Dereliction to boost damage over time and heal on scroll switches. At least nobody minds my baby DPS when I don't cart, but I secretly love carting. That's why I use the Charge Blade. The grind is essentially endless. I've spent the last 2 months fighting the same 50-some monsters, but because they were red this time I actually had a blast. The late game of the DLC introduces 5 different superpower builds you can mix and match. I use Frenzy and Awakening, so when I shatter the Thunder Puppy scales and hack away at its exposed flesh, I get a cool attack buff with which to further rend animals asunder. Sunbreak never really stops giving. Long after you've beaten Super Malzeno 64, so named for how many times you'll need to retry the hunt, monsters keep getting stronger by inhaling pretty red butterfly dust, giving them massive multipliers to their health pools and damage output. In turn, by hitting the pretty red butterflies around the monster's limbs, you'll deal bonus damage to mitigate the gargantuan health pool. Afflicted monsters can infect you with Blood Blight, giving a vampiric effect that heals on attacks. This pairs nicely with the previously mentioned Blood Rate and Awakening skills, but speccing too hard into blood means that regular monsters and risen monsters which don't inflict Blood Blight are tougher than afflicted ones until their scales break and I can suck their blood too. Afflicted monsters encourage highly aggressive all-or-nothing playstyles that other players in my lobby may not appreciate, but which I simply can't get enough of. I don't see myself hitting Master Rank 999, but maybe I'll hit 500 before getting bored. Overall, my experiences with the players of Rise have been positive. Everyone just wants to have a good time hunting. Getting carried through most of Master Rank and then being that guy for other players feels really rewarding, though I do tend to embarrass myself by fainting more than the newer players do. Cartblade. The occasional chud pops up, and higher ranked players will nitpick your build if you aren't using a guide from Monster Hunter Meta subreddit, which I don't appreciate, but the vast majority of players have been cool, chill, and patient with my bullshit. Heartblade. I haven't exactly made any lifelong friends, but Rise multiplayer has been a great time. Shout out Chief if you run into Malibu Speedball on Rise or Caldera Oasis on Wilds. And feel free to send me your guild card.